And then a warm welcome to all. Herzlich willkommen to the first inaugural lecture of a new professor of the German University of Science, liebe Frau Professor Maren Borkert. Willkommen in the German UDS, of course. This is already done some weeks before, but now for this inaugural lecture. In fact, it is the first one we had, although we have meanwhile 17 professors. And the reason is simply this was a start group, and there was no one who could join us for such a lecture and such an event. So we are happy to have you here. You will speak about beyond the classroom, digital entrepreneurship, education as infrastructure for a social transformation. Short to introduce you, you are not first time here professor, you are already professor with the XU, Exponential University. And in that university, you of course did all what a professor had to do, but you did more. You were vice president of this and organized a lot of research projects and was so very supportive for that university. Here also you will not only be a usual professor, you promise to engage for our e-college, for the College of Entrepreneurship. And to introduce you what you did, some famous thing was the Time Lab Entrepreneurship Program you established, you has founded. It was internationally visible and active. Eventually you say a few words about that in your talk. And then we are discussing how we integrate this, how we do some things in, how we do a college of entrepreneurship. We have a college of design thinking, college of entrepreneurship, and we also plan to have, for example, an Africa college, a college for interconnecting the scientists, the researchers, the professors, the students from a certain region and connect this with universities and institutions in that region. So now it's your floor. Welcome to your inaugural lecture.
Thank you so much, Professor Meinl. Thank you all for coming, also from my side. Dann lege ich mal los. Okay. Welcome and good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. An inaugural lecture is not only about introducing a person or a position, it is an invitation to share a way of thinking, a set of convictions, and also a vision for the future of education. Today I would like to talk about digital entrepreneurship education, not as a course format, but as an infrastructure for economic participation, societal resilience, and responsible innovation. My professional journey has taken me across universities, disciplines, industries, and countries, from Bamberg to Bilbao, to Padua, to Vienna, to Berlin, and now here to Potsdam. Across 19 years of teaching, across 19 years of teaching, and more than a decade focused specifically on entrepreneurship education, one insight has remained constant. Entrepreneurship is not taught, it is cultivated. It emerges at the intersection of technology. It emerges at the intersection of technology, sustainability, leadership, and lived experience. And perhaps shaped by being a mother, being a climber, and a pilot, yes, I'm legally authorized to operate drones. I deeply believe that learning is about trust, accepting the risks, responsibility, and perspective. The title of this lecture is Beyond the Classroom. Digital Entrepreneurship Education as Infrastructure for Societal Transformation. Because entrepreneurship education today can no longer be understood as a bounded academic activity. It has become an infrastructure, a capacity and a means, enabling people to navigate uncertainty, create value, and contribute meaningfully in a rapidly transforming society, To understand why, we need to look at the world our learners are entering. When we ask professionals what they wish they had learned earlier, the answers are strikingly consistent. How to work with AI and data, how to build digital businesses, how to innovate responsibly and at scale, and how to navigate complex regulation and global markets. This is not about missing tools, it is about missing capabilities. And this gap defines the challenge for higher education. An innovation gap that the European Commission estimates at 180 billion euros. The challenges we are now facing are not isolated. We find ourselves in a period defined by a compounding polycrisis, one in which digital acceleration, demographic contraction, and climate transformation converge and reinforce one another. Digital technologies are reshaping every industry, yet adoption remains uneven. In Europe alone, over half of the large enterprises now use AI, while fewer than 12% of the small and medium-sized enterprise do so, creating a persistent productivity and competitiveness gap. At the same time, nearly 128 million adults in the European Union require upskilling or reskilling, while participation in continuing education remains below 40%. In strategic sectors, retirements far outpace graduate supply. Let's take semiconductors, for example. Nearly 80% of the workforce is expected to retire by 2030, while graduate output is growing by less than 1% annually, resulting in a projected shortfall of more than 10,000 engineers per year. This turns demographic change into a direct innovation constraint. Overlaying both dynamics is the climate transformation. Europe's path to climate neutrality by 2050 requires not only new technologies, but fundamentally new business models. Yet only 1/3 of employees can identify concrete sustainability competences, revealing a critical skills mismatch. And these challenges are not parallel, they are multiplicative. Automation accelerates skills obsolescence in aging workforces, climate transition collides with talent scarcity, and fragmented digital markets disadvantage those without scale. The implication is clear. Traditional educational responses are structurally insufficient. Digital entrepreneurship education and transformative online learning are no longer peripheral innovations. They are core adaptive infrastructures, enabling learning, innovation, and economic participation to scale across domains and borders. Yet before we dive into giving answers, first let's have a look at a solid understanding of the problems at hand. Globally, economies are undergoing a rapid transformation and shifting labor markets. Across advanced and emerging economies alike, the central constraint is no longer access to technology, but access to skills. The World Economic Forum and multiple international agencies now converge on the same diagnosis. Skills gap, rather than capital shortages, are becoming the primary bottleneck towards economic participation and growth. Europe illustrates this challenge very, very clearly. Today, 128 million adults, or just over 46% of the adult population, lack the skills needed to function effectively in the digital economy. While the European Union has set a target of 80% digital skills coverage by 2030, so in just 6 years, current levels stand at only 55%. This leaves a gap of more than 24 percentage points, affecting roughly 68 million adults who will need to acquire new competences within the next 4 years. So the labor market consequences are already visible, particularly among younger generations. Youth employment remains at about 15% across the EU and exceeds 25% in countries like Spain. At the same time, Europe's competitiveness depends heavily on its 25 million small and medium-sized enterprises, which provide 2/3 of all European jobs. Their ability to digitalize has become a decisive factor for Europe's global economic position. And in consequence, the European Commission has recently launched its updated Startup and Scale-up strategy, which focuses on connecting innovation ecosystems across borders, improving access to finance, and significantly reducing administrative burdens for SMEs. The strategy places a strong emphasis on digital and green innovation. From this year onwards, so 2026, key measures include the launch of the Scale Up European Fund to support clean tech investment, continued financing through InvestEU and the European Innovation Council, who's setting apart additionally 300 million, and further regulatory simplification, including a new 28th regime to facilitate cross-border activity. Talent development is also a priority here. The Blue Carpet Initiative aims to retain and attract talent by improving employee stock option frameworks and fast-tracking procedures for non-European founders, while support structures like the Enterprise Europe Network and Euroclusters help SMEs innovate and scale. And this is why entrepreneurship education is no longer a niche. It is essential for the economic development. Equally, the climate transition is no longer a future scenario. It is already reshaping the global economy. Worldwide, green and clean technology markets are growing at 20 to 24% annually and are projected to reach up to $80 billion by 2030. So this growth reflects not only the environmental urgency, but a profound transformation of markets, value creation, and also entrepreneurial opportunities. Green technologies, circular economy models, and sustainable mobility are no longer niche domains. They are emerging growth markets. Europe has positioned itself at the center of this transformation. Through the European Green Deal, the EU has committed to a €1 trillion investment framework, with the European green tech market alone projected to reach €120 billion by 2027 in just 1 year. Yet, investment scale is not the limiting factor. Capabilities are. Demand for green skills is growing at more than 11% annually, while supply increases barely at half that rate. Although most employers recognize sustainability goals, only about 1/3 can clearly identify the competences required to implement them. So higher education mirrors this gap. Sustainability remains insufficiently integrated into many curricula, and the implication of this is clear. Climate resilience business models do not emerge from single disciplines. They require hybrid entrepreneurial capabilities that combine, on the one hand, the technical expertise with environmental literacy and regulatory understanding, and also business model innovation. And this is precisely where entrepreneurship education becomes decisive. At the same time, transition must be inclusive. Today, venture-backed entrepreneurship remains highly concentrated, geographically, socially, and also demographically. A climate transition that excludes large parts of the population is not only unjust, it is economically unsustainable. Climate neutrality by 2050 will require distributed entrepreneurial capacity across regions, across sectors, social groups, and not innovation confined in just a few hubs. Entrepreneurship education must therefore be accessible by design and embedded in local ecosystems that strengthen resilience. So, digital delivery is not a secondary option here. It is a necessary condition to extend opportunity beyond traditional centers. And what do digital acceleration, demographic shifts, and climate change have to do with digital entrepreneurship? Well, the compounding multi-crisis forces digital entrepreneurship to evolve from a merely profit-seeking to building essential systemic resilience. Entrepreneurs must now innovate at the intersection of these crises, develop sustainable, localized, and tech-driven solutions to manage, for example, resource scarcity and workforce shortages. In what ways is digital entrepreneurship then distinct and distinguishable from every other type of business approach? Well, digital entrepreneurship is not traditional entrepreneurship with a website, okay? Empirically, it behaves differently. It scales faster. It requires less capital. It reaches global markets much earlier. and it captures value through data and platforms. This fundamentally changes what entrepreneurs need to learn. Digital entrepreneurship is about technology-based value creation, network effects, and data-driven decision-making. It is not simply e-commerce, online marketing, or digitized analog processes. Teaching this distinction is crucial because confusing the two leads to ineffective education. If digital entrepreneurship is empirically distinct and requires fundamentally different capabilities, the next question is obvious. Who is currently able to develop and deploy these capabilities, and who is not? And when we look at Europe's economic structure, the answer reveals a growing competitiveness gap. Despite their central role in the economy, most small and medium-sized enterprises still operate at the pre-digital competitive disadvantage. Only a small fraction use AI, for example, in a meaningful way. This is not a technology problem. The tools exist. It's a fundamentally a capability and educational problem. Globally, digital technologies and AI in particular are redefining productivity, scale, and market power. The key question is not longer whether AI creates value, but who is able to adopt it and who's left behind. Nowhere is this more evident than in Europe and Germany. SMEs represent 25 million firms, generate 2/3 of all European jobs, and account for around 50% of the gross domestic product. Yet AI adoption reveals a very stark divide. While 55% of large enterprises use AI, the adoption drops to just over 20% among medium-sized firms and to 12% among small firms. In other words, small enterprises are less than 1/3 as likely to deploy artificial intelligence as large ones. And this gap defines the current competitiveness crisis. It is driven not by access to technology, but by skills shortages, capital constraints, and fragmented innovation ecosystems that limit experimentation and learning. So entrepreneurship education therefore appears as an infrastructure, as a system-level intervention that enables digital native SMEs upskill the existing workforce and connect firms to technology, to talent, and experimentation environments. The economic stakes are substantial. If those SME adoption, AI adoption merely approached the level of large enterprises, the annual gross domestic product impact in Europe would exceed 240 billion euros. So the bottleneck is quite clear, right? The question is whether education innovation systems can be redesigned fast enough to unlock this potential, which brings us directly to the limits of the current online education, entrepreneurship education, and why it must be reimagined. So online education promises scale, access, and flexibility, yet the completion rates remain shockingly low. I already talked about the median of 12.6% for massive open online courses. And Tom and I already had a discussion on this, that this factor, this median, is of course shielding away huge differences. We have a range that goes from 0.7 to 52%. But what is shockingly is that this percentage, these 12%, they are struck in the public opinion and in the public mind. And this is something online education has to compete with, right? So completion rates are shockingly low. Why? Because entrepreneurship is not only about information acquisition. It is about identity formation, it's about sensing windows of opportunity, it's about social embedding, and it's about very rapid feedback and pivoting. This is the paradox. Technology enables scales, but entrepreneurship remains deeply human. From a learning science perspective, 3 things fail online when it comes to entrepreneurship education, of course. And I'm rushing a little bit through this because of time constraints. And of course, there would be much more to say about this, right? So it's lack of real practice, it's delayed or missing feedback, and it's weak identity formation. Entrepreneurship is learned through doing. Entrepreneurship is learned through failing. It's learned through reflecting and iterating, and all this in a community. No. Too fast. When social mechanisms are missing, failure in online entrepreneurship education becomes systemic, not accidental. Dropout rises, engagement decays, and team collapse. Networks fail to form. The conclusion is clear. Relationship infrastructure is foundational, not optional. The data is quite consistent on regard. So around 50% of many mock learners drop out after the first week, and nearly 75% leave before midpoint. This follows a predictable cascade. Initial curiosity in week 1, awareness of time commitment in week 2, frictionless withdrawal in week 3 due to the lack of social obligation, and silent exit driven by overload in week 4. The root cause is consistent. No social embedding, no visible progress, no accountability. Engagement decays just as predictably. Without physical co-presence, motivation depends almost entirely on intrinsic drive. And neuroscience shows that sustained motivation requires immediate feedback, it requires social recognition and visibility in progress. And when these are absent, engagement drops exponentially after an initial spike. So the team-based learning suffers as well. In-person working trust typically forms within 2 to 3 weeks. Only online, it takes 6 to 9 weeks, 3 times longer. As a result, teams often collapse before meaningful collaboration can emerge. And finally, online environment struggles to create entrepreneurial networks. Entrepreneurship depends on weak ties and serendipity. Yet digital platforms replace organic discovery with algorithmic matching, producing bonding capital, but very little bridging capital. And unsurprisingly, 60%, almost roughly 60% of the learners disengage in online programs in entrepreneurship education without strong social embedding. The implication is decisive. Scalable digital education only works when a relationship infrastructure is intentionally designed, especially in international contexts across time zones, cultures, and regulatory environments. So, research consistently also shows what works. Experiential learning, intensive monitoring, authentic challenge-based delivery. Entrepreneurship education must feel real because the stakes are real. And our response, the response at the German UDS, to my opinion, is immersive digital education. High tech for scalability, analytics, and simulation. High touch for strategy, vision, ethics, and human feedback. AI accelerates the feedback, and the humans, they shape the meaning. In the module Program Management and Digital Entrepreneurship, I have started to operationalize a bit of this pedagogy. Students follow weekly sprints. They work on real business simulations. We apply gamification with purpose, so badges like the Digital Explorer, the Market Mapper, the Value Creator, or the Prototype Builder, etc. I use peer accountability and portfolio-based assessment, and the idea behind this that students do not just pass the exams, they acquire entrepreneurial competences and build ventures. So to me, the high-tech, high-touch approach is the foundation of the College of Entrepreneurship. It integrates academic excellence with entrepreneurial practice in a way that allows us to scale without losing depth. Okay? It does not treat education, venture creation, ecosystem engagement as separate domains, but connects them into a single learning architecture. The objectives is not merely skills acquisition, but entrepreneurial identity formation, embedded from the outset in responsibility, sustainability, and regulatory awareness. This approach rests on 4 design principles. First, scalability. The e-college is built around modular, stakeable programs designs for what is called a Goldilocks scales, large enough to generate network effects, yet small enough to preserve quality. The model optimizes peer learning, mentor access, and feedback intensity. The design enables reach without sacrificing academic rigor or human connection. Second, the integration. Learning, founding, and market access are deliberately and seamlessly interconnected. There's no artificial separation between education and practice. Industry partners are embedded from the beginning, providing real problems and real customers. Access to investors is built progressively through the Innovations GmbH and partner networks. And third is the transformation. Entrepreneurship is treated as a process of identity development, not just credential accumulation. Reflective practice, peer coaching, and personal development plans are core components of the curriculum. Success is measured not only at graduation, but longitudinally. Sustained entrepreneurial agency 5 years after program completion, supported through an active alumni network and continuous tracking. And fourth is responsibility. Every venture developed within the e-college is assessed across 3 dimensions: economic viability, environmental sustainability, and social impact. Ethical AI and compliance with, for example, European regulations where applicable, are framed as a competitive advantage rather than a constraint. The goal is a significant share of ventures to contribute directly to sustainable development goals. How many? We still have to discuss and define. To me, the German UDS is uniquely positioned to deliver this model as a full digital, English-speaking, market-oriented and entrepreneurial designed institution located in Germany, Potsdam and Europe. It's the deliberate construction of an international-oriented digital innovation university deeply embedded in technology, policy, and entrepreneurial ecosystems. The e-college serves international digital talents, climate and tech innovators, corporate entrepreneurs, and also EU-oriented founders. What unites this group is a shared need: flexible, part-time formats, immediate applicable methods, access to mentors and experts, peer learning across industries, and a diverse international network. In this sense, the e-college functions as a talent bridge into global markets, aligning education, innovation, and impact at scale. So responsible digital innovation requires also an integrated competence. Technology, ethics, climate resilience, regulation, and business acumen are inseparable in real entrepreneurial practice. So digital entrepreneurs must be technically literate. AI, cybersecurity, data are foundational. At the same time, trustworthy AI and ethical design are competitive advantages, not just compliance costs. Every digital venture has an environmental footprint, so making climate resilience businesses models are essential, reinforced by the European Green Deals with 1 trillion euros of investment framework. The mastery of European regulations, GDPR AI Act, further turns complexity into a scaling advantage. We call this the Brussels effect, meaning that, when companies develop their product, they already envision the most demanding regulations from the European side and can be sure that they can be easily access the markets all around the world. The key insights: these capabilities must be taught together because entrepreneurship operates at their intersection. And the Cove Entrepreneurship College, who are my colleagues working on this, is the virtual heart of the e-college for transformative entrepreneurship. It's an immersive, socially embedded learning environment that blurs the line between online and offline. The Cove realizes the vision of a digital campus that enables true community, intense collaboration, and practical learning. And it combines global reach with local intimacy, structure with flexibility, and technology with human connections. So, and having a look on the eye, I don't want to explain too much about this, just for you all, because of course we are considering also to make this applicable and open not only to our students at the German UDS, but all the colleagues. Here on the ground floor, as you can see, all of you with your digital avatars, you would enter a vibrant virtual trading hall where students and staff avatars could invest real value, COVE currency, into the evolving German UDS students' ventures from ideas to market. After every investment round, a leaderboard highlights the most successful avatar investors, blending playfulness with performance insights, right? And at a later stage, of course, students can also create immersive e-commerce experiences in the showroom by selling both virtual and physical goods, like virtual sneakers or virtual twins of real-world items, fashion pieces for your and collectibles for your avatars and the like. So, to be sustainable, educational innovation, of course, also needs a viable business model. In alignment to the German UDS University as a Service, the College of Entrepreneurship will eventually combine university education, licensing, corporate training, and venture participation, always anchored in academic integrity. So, and this is the phase journey, moving deliberately from curriculum design to pilots to immersive integration, and ultimately what is going to be a global alumni network. Crucially, education in this model does not end at graduation. In phase one, the focus is on the foundation, defining the transformative curriculum centered on digital, ethical, sustainable entrepreneurship, designing a fully online, high-touch pedagogy that combines synchronous workshops and events with asynchronous teaching. In phase two, we would launch the minimal viable college, a pilot cohort, test the digital infrastructure, including the learning platform, immersive elements, community building tools for mentorship and peer learning. And this phase also introduces the first small-scale local summer bootcamp, validating the hybrid model of online depth and in-person connection. I've already been in contact with 2 private universities on regard, the University of Georgia and one University of Turkey, 8,000 and 9,000 students on regard, who are particularly interested in a bootcamp also on clean tech and energy entrepreneurship, which we still need to draft and refine. And in phase 3, these models scale, right? The enrollment expands, global faculty could be integrated, and the immersive technologies are fully embedded through business simulations and, for example, virtual mentorship. Human connection is formalized and integrated with AI-supported coaching, cohort hubs, and multiple summer bootcamps aligned with the learner locations. And in phase 4, we would have a globally established institution. Full accreditation of the hybrid model is achieved. Permanent summer hubs are launched in key international cities. I heard we open up an office in New York. And a seamless transition between online immersive learning and in-person collaboration becomes the norm. A global alumni network anchors lifelong learning, venture support, function as the mentors, and ecosystem access. And across all 5 years, the core components, they remain constant. High touch, AI-enhanced online teaching, virtual incubators, multiple reality-driven simulations, intentionally designed human connections, and annually intensive local bootcamps. Together, these phases reflect a simple principle. Scalable digital education succeeds when it's designed as a human-centered, long-term ecosystem, not a one-off program, supporting learning, venture creation, and entrepreneurial identity well beyond graduation. Here's a couple of modular micro-degrees and electives that I would like to explore, of course, with all of my colleagues here in the room. So to support the overall mission of the German UDS of a human-centered, fair and future-proof digital transformation, the College of Entrepreneurship will design a transformative curriculum consisting of electives and micro-degrees well suited to address, support and strengthen the existing but also the new study programs at the German UDS, like quantum readiness or data science or cybersecurity or transformation management, and so on and so forth. So the vision can only succeed through collective intelligence across the German UDS and beyond. To my teaching colleagues, I invite you to co-develop electives and modules on digital entrepreneurship for existing and new master programs, connecting disciplinary expertise with real-world entrepreneurial challenges. To the student service and the career teams, your proximity to the students make you essential partners. Please share insights on students' interests, skills, demands, and career pathways, and suggest external partners aligned with entrepreneurial development. To my IT colleagues and the COVE teams, immersive digital education depends on robust and flexible IT architecture. I look forward to working with you on constraints, on opportunities and experimentation with scalable immersive solutions. And to the EdTech and the learning design teams, let us jointly improve the learning journey, right? From feedback and engagement to gamification and progression through continuous experimentation and evaluation. To the university leadership and our external partners, your guiding and strategic input are vital to align this initiative with institutional priorities and international ecosystems. And to colleagues in research and practice, our rich digital data infrastructure offers really unique opportunities for research-driven innovation. Managed responsibly, it can position the German UDS as a lighthouse of digital science and digital entrepreneurship. And for my final remarks, if there's one core message I would like to leave you with today, it is this. Entrepreneurial education is no longer a niche academic activity. It is critical for economic resilience, innovation capacity, and also for social cohesion. We are facing a compounding multi-crisis. Digital transformation, climate change, and demographic shifts cannot be solved with linear thinking, isolated skills, or traditional teaching formats. They demand new educational models. Technology gives us unprecedented scale, yet learning, entrepreneurship, and transformation remain deeply human. So the real change happens through experience, feedback, identity formation, and belonging. This is why the future lies not in high-tech or high-touch, but in their deliberate combination. The College of Entrepreneurship is not a finished product. It is designed to connect education with venture building, ethics with innovation, and universities with ecosystems. And it can only succeed if we build it together. So I invite you all, as colleagues, as students, as partners and researchers, to co-create this future of transformative entrepreneurship education together. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Maren, for the nice talk and the many, many ideas we can discuss. You are invited now to do, and for developing our common new university model in various directions. So let's start with Q&A session. And please help me to recognize if something from the online world. Stephen.
Shall I speak out loud? Do I need a microphone?
Yeah.
Speak to the microphone. Well, I thought I'd speak into the microphone. Okay, I'll see if I can remember. Maren, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the wonderful talk, for the wonderful way that you bridged theory and practice with a wonderful vision, and I can't wait, if you will have me, to be part of the e-college and contribute in my humble way. I would like to take you back to a more theoretical question, if I may.
Yeah, please.
You said entrepreneurship needs to be cultivated. I couldn't agree more. And allow me to throw out Keith Grint. He's a British management scholar, I believe. He says, or one of those things he says is that he's a leadership management scholar who focuses on leadership, and he says leaders need followers, and we always concentrate on leaders in leadership education, but not on followers. I see a parallel to entrepreneurship. Yeah, so entrepreneurs also need someone that can actually put these wild ideas into practice. So, do you see what are the implications? I mean, if you agree, do you agree with this? There's leaders and followers, and there's entrepreneurs and people that actually do the work. Do you agree with that? Two, B, if you do, what's sort of the implication for that for teaching?
Okay. I hope the microphone is still on, right? Yeah, okay, perfect, thank you. Let me come back to the first question. You say, do leaders need followers? It's a good question, and I would answer it in the following way. I believe that every group at one point needs to find a way of leadership. And the leadership can take many different forms, right? So it does not have necessarily to be an authoritarian leader. It can be a group of people leading, right? But the point is this: there needs to be one impulse and trigger moment of going forward and being holding oneself accountable and responsible for oral worlds, and combine and realize what has been discussed in this group of interests, put it this way, into action. And action needs organization, and action needs management, and for this there needs to be some sort of leadership. Now we know that leadership has evolved quite a bit in our human being, right? I mean, if you go back from how we have envisioned leaders to be, in the Middle Ages, it's quite different from where we are now looking to when it comes to leaders. I don't think that leadership is something that people are born into. But I strongly believe that leadership can be acquired and trained and learned and practiced. And it needs a safe space in order to venture out, move out of the comfort zone and do this. So I see certain parallels between leadership and entrepreneurs. Of course I do. So thank you for already establishing this kind of connections. And yes, entrepreneurship is very much the same. It's a group of people finding themselves together and trying to bring an idea to life. And it always starts with the customer. We have a very strong human-centered approach because the one single condition that you need as a business is you need to have a paying customer. If you are not addressing the problem of someone, if you are not creating a value to a person, you're not going to likely to have a viable business, right? So there is a strong parallel between leadership and entrepreneurship, but it's also true that there are as many different companies as there are many different leaders. So the question is, when I was talking about identity formation being part of entrepreneurship education, this is exactly what needs to happen. People need to evolve in their roles, and this university is a place that can enable them to do exactly that.
Thank you. Can I get the micro?
Yeah.
I see no questions, so I start with a remark. A remark in a sense that we have, as a university, very strongly regulated study programs.
Yeah.
These are the accreditations, these are the study programs.
Yes.
What we intend with the colleges, the different college, to have a horizontal, if this is a vertical horizontal. So you are very free in these colleges to do things which are not strictly regulated. In the regulation says all our study programs need to be finishable, completely digital.
Yeah.
But here, to combine and have boot camps
Yeah.
or other things
Yeah.
is very welcomed
Yeah.
and can be developed in many of the
Different
senses you described.
Yeah.
The same is true with the teaching
Yeah.
elements. We have it already with a College of Design Thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not an accredited module. It can be shorter, it can be longer, it can be focused on a very special thing, it can be done also by students, run and other things. So all these possibilities we want to intend by having this horizontal college structure. So all your proposals can be,
I'm
you
very
can
happy
try,
to hear it.
you can try to implement, you can try to win the colleagues
Yeah.
to join you, and it could be very experimental.
Yeah.
It's not that one thing is so long thought that it needs to run 100 years. No, it can change each quarter
Yeah.
or each semester.
Yes.
So in that sense, it's fine. Now my question to the online education. I think with the MOOCs, we have, it was the biggest innovation in my eyes in e-learning, because sitting alone with a self-paced content where social
Yeah.
interaction was completely missing.
Yeah.
MOOCs provide a possibility
Yes.
for this mission. The problem with the relatively low rate of finishing this is that for many people there is no need. So we had in OpenHPI a much higher finishing rate, because here the people came and this was digital content and they want to know or need to know it for their business. If you go to Coursera and you have a course in storytelling, it's not necessary to become a professional storyteller. So it's interesting to look here and to look there, and if I know time, I go away. Also, our students, our relatively small pioneering students we have, I think are better in the completion rate. I do not know many which stepped out or earlier stepped out. A little bit, could it be that there is a motivation because they have paid? But
Yeah.
there are in the first group a lot of scholarship students
Yeah.
which have not paid.
Yeah.
And nevertheless, they are staying with us and doing. So I think the comparison between offline learning and online learning is not what is the best. The future needs to do this digital, because there are no resources to do this
Absolutely.
in person.
Yeah.
Rich states, rich countries, they can provide the campus universities where the people gave 4 or 5 years for that to study. But in future and in many other countries, we need this digital form, so we have to try to do the best to make the best out of it.
Yeah, but this is exactly what I was aiming for, to say, okay, yes, we provide this online teaching, but we try to make this interactive and socially connective as humanly possible, right? So we were already, and we created already a little research project out of it, right? We are trying out different software to see how we can integrate compulsory questions into the online videos, branching videos so that students can choose what kind of topic they are most interested next. So we try to make this as interactive and vital, you know, as humanly possible. So it's absolutely true. The idea is to find the speed spot, you know, between scaling with human touch. And this kind of human interactions in groups, working on real challenges, feedback from real persons, like many of my colleagues are already doing, I think is definitely the way forward. And it already shows when you say the completion rates are already above the mean. There's a question, I think, online.
I will read it out.
Yeah, thank you.
Cameron asked, wonderful vision and current.
You need a microphone.
Okay, yeah, I will just read it out. Wonderful version and presentation. My personal interest and research also follow under the similar dominion. My question is how you think this vision of immersive online education can help students from developing countries like Pakistan, for example, 26 million out of children or 240 million out of school children globally by providing them low-tech immersive web XR online education to empower them with skills.
You can see who is asking this question?
Kamran, yeah.
Okay.
Our pilot student.
One of our pilot students. It was not easy for me to understand the question because you were a little bit... Can you repeat the question?
Wonderful vision and presentation.
Yeah, just the question.
The question is...
How do you think the vision of immersive online education can help students
from developing countries like Pakistan?
Okay, for example, 26 million out of school children. Okay, school children is again something else than university students, right? I mean, I think we need to be very aware of who are our target audiences for the university and the educational offer that we are making at this university. People who want to acquire certain digital skills or ethical skills or know about European regulations because they have a trajectory, because they think Europe can be an interested market, for example, to build a company at one point. And school children, for the school children, for example, and this is where the university is actually quite balanced. We do have online free offers, right? Yeah. So a lot of the topics that we are addressing in university degree education, we are addressing also in our free offer, which are the open courses.
For example, preview courses or other things which are open to all and which are also interested pupils to make the decision in what directions they want to go. It's a strong program with the ECTS. You have to work hard.
Yeah. And one thing that we already discussed is I would love to have a course on young entrepreneurs. So, teach already school-age children to develop an entrepreneurial mindset, not with regard to, what kind of jobs will I have in the near future, but how can I build a future for myself through the education and the formation that I can receive. So I would be very open to explore this topic of young entrepreneurs in the open format that the universities offer.
One vision of our university is to really become alma mater.
Yeah.
And alma mater means people study with us and then they go in profession and after a while they come back with a micro degrees. And we should hold them as long as they have own kids. To get this own kids into the learning cycle.
Yeah.
More questions? Remarks? If it's not the case, then thank you very much for the inspiring talk. Nice
Thanks
to
so
have
much.
you with our university.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to collaborating and working with all of you. Okay? Thanks. Yay. Yay.